Hello everybody, welcome back to Ghostly French Toast, and today we are talking about Allmind. So, I know I haven't really done an Armored Core video in a minute, so, enough dialing around, let's dive in. Also, happy holidays for everyone. Um, Hoping to get back on schedule with videos, all that, just been really busy as of lately, so enough dialing around, let's dive on it. Basics. Final boss of Armored Core 6, and technically half of the final boss because it's Iguazu and Allmind, which is kind of silly goofy. There hasn't really been a hybrid boss like that in any of From Software's games, so it's kind of interesting take of the game. And there's also like 40 Allminds there. Basically controls the arenas. So Allmind, we're going to talk about on this slide, basically helps the player. It's basically the Siri of the game, helps navigate people in the garage, in the arenas, helps the Raven or Mercenary just achieve. It's the Mercenary network. And to be honest, All Mine on paper seems kind of boring the first couple playthroughs, and then something happens a third playthrough. She has secret goals. All Mine's purpose as a whole is to basically protect humanity. Um, And as most rogue AI stories go, with that protecting humanity is like, oh yeah, it's great and all, but like, she's also trying to like kill us, you know? She, as stated earlier, she helps the mercenaries in their missions basically achieve their goals, anything that they really need to complete their mission, whether that be access to the garage or just like to go into the combat arenas to fight other ACs to train themselves to become better. But also works to achieve something called core release. And something interesting is All Might's goals on paper aren't bad. She wants to make sure humanity evolves to basically become better. And yes, that sounds bad, but in All Might's mind and how she's programmed, um, it's like okay, because something throughout the Armored Core series is that they have had this idea of these rogue AIs trying to basically protect humanity, making sure that they're going to be like ready for their next big step. And Core Release is just that. Core Release is the forced evolution of humanity, similar to Neon Genesis Evangelion. Um, it's basically the fusing of Coral and humanity into one singular being, and we already see that with Raven. And so with Raven, we have Air and Coral, this basically fusing of the two, and the two come together, basically form one unit where she's able to operate with inside Raven's mind, all that. Um, All Mine believes this is something a lot of people haven't really talked about. All Mine beliefs are basically caused because air is special. Air is basically the only really example of like thought um in Coral. And we see this also in Vesper 3. He also states that he's like, oh, I've had this voice in my head. But so All Mine believes that all Coral is alive. It's a similar thing, but there's only two instances in the game where this is basically proven that there's some kind of like connection between Coral being alive and the forced evolution through Coral release. But air is just a mutation, and we hear in before we fight Balteus, the first Balteus, not Balteus 2, that air is mutation in the Coral. And something to take notice of with the mutation itself, it's not that like, oh, that all Coral. It's mutation from the standard deviation of Coral. And I think All Mine's beliefs are flawed because of that. So All Mine believes that, oh, air is special, that they're needed for Coral at least, and they are, because they're the only people alive that have this kind of connection between Coral and all that. But I think air's mutation, I'll discuss a little more when I talk about the ending of the game, on how this is going to impact everything else. So, talking about playthrough 3, because we don't really know anything about playthrough All Mine's goals until the ending of the game, until your last playthrough, because technically you have to do 3 playthroughs to actually get the full story and synopsis of this year, or of basically the entire game. Sorry. All Mine uses fake mercenaries to get its goals, and All Mine works to basically slowly just build up more and more. All Might just seems different. She has newer combats in the arena where it's like she talks about how she's testing a new AC, and we see that new AC at the end of the game. And this is the AC itself. We see the first Allmind basically come out and start working, and you have to fight him, test him, what to move up the rank in the arena. Steals Raven before the fight in Institute City to kill Snail, because we know at the end of the Institute City fight, after fighting the Coral Weapon, we know Snail basically kidnaps Raven and kidnaps Walter, turns him into the final boss of either your first playthrough or your second playthrough. Here's my second playthrough for final boss. But Allmind gets ahead of that and basically was like, hijacks comms and basically like, hey, Raven or Snail's here and he's gonna kill you if you don't do it. So basically, Raven gets kidnapped by Allmind and basically used to destroy the Xylem, because the Xylem is going straight into basically the plant, and it was going to basically stop Coral Release, and it was going to be a disaster for Allmind's plans. Basically, and finally uses Raven to achieve Coral Release. And this leads us into our final slide, the ending, probably my personal little headcanon. Raven fights with Allmind and Iguazu. Iguazu kills Allmind. And even in the end, Coral Release still happens. So, going off that thing that I was talking about earlier with Coral Release and how it's necessary for Air and Raven to be there because they're the only fused. So, in the ending, we see after Coral Release happens, the big dark sign, if you will, because it's funny. All their games have some kind of circle ring kind of thing. It's funny that Dark Souls 3 has that in the end. Elden Ring has that in the end. It's all referencing some kind of ring. We see in the end that even though it happens, everything kind of just, we see a bunch of ACs lying in ruins, all that. We see our AC lying in this water kind of world with different lights, red dots going across the sky. But the only person we hear is Air. So Air basically got separate. So we know after this, the Iceworm fight, that Air isn't really connected with her family, quote unquote. But now that I think she's connected, so if humanity and Coral fused into one, I feel like there would be a lot more dialogue going on. It would be a lot more chaotic. But the only person we hear talking is Air. So I personally think, since Air was a mutation in Coral itself, she basically she was one of the main reasons that everyone is waking up with these red dots. Because I think all those red dots is just Air. Air's kind of the new Allmind, if that makes any sense, controlling basically everyone. And I know this is kind of a weird jump to different characters to talk about. I'm going to make an Iguazu video next, so hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for being very patient with me. It's been a very rough couple weeks for me. I've just been very busy, holidays, all that funny shebang. So yeah, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next time on Ghostly French Toast. Bye-bye.